folks. Welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh. Joined, as always, it is
Matty. Juice.
Juice.
What is
Well,
up, Tommy? How are you?
I'm good. I'm very tired, but listen, I'm happy to be here. We're going to be talking about a game that we had talked about already when it was in demo mode, but now it's out in early access. It is Sworn. So stick around if you want to, hear about our thoughts and our review of the game. We will be talking about some other stuff first. Of course, it is a podcast. We're just chatty Kathy's over here now. What's going on with you? What's new?
Yeah. There's a few new things in the world of Matty Juice. And let's see. Over the weekend, I don't even remember really we brought like Pluto to go get groomed for the first time, which was cool. Although I will say like the groomer was like the most like he was like, is this Pluto? Like he's like Squidward, like basically. Uh, but yeah, so he got all groomed. He smelled nice because we were hosting a Super Bowl party over the weekend. My Eagles dominated the Super Bowl. I understand it wasn't a great one if you weren't a fan, but as a fan, it was exactly what I wanted. So very happy about that. And also in the world of news, I'll just say it now.
Say it.
I was going to save it for the news, but Matty Juice is going to be Daddy Juice.
All right. What the heck is going on here?
So, yes, my wife and I are expecting our first kid, and it's a little baby girl, and it should be coming around late August. So, we are very excited. Tommy's known for a bit. Tommy is the Godfather.
The Godfather.
There it is.
There as well with being a Godfather.
There's the proof. I'm not lying. Just wanted to officially kind of announce it on the podcast. Have had to hold off until we kind of tell, our friends and family. So now that we've kind of told mostly everybody, I'm announcing it on the show. So there you go. That's the news. What a weekend. I didn't find out I was going to be a dad, but just a good overall weekend telling people.
I found out I was going to be a dad.
Yeah. Really?
No. I mean, listen, some answers would need to be answered. Questions would need to be answered also. There'd be a lot going on, but no, it's super exciting. Kids are sick. They also get sick a lot, but that's all right. That's part of the nature of the beast there. We're all very excited. Hopefully it looks more like Mrs. Juice, to be honest. No,
yeah,
what am I
obviously.
saying? We look alike. No, it should look like us.
Yeah,
like we had a kid.
We look like frogs. Are we frogs, right?
That's frogs or rats?
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be sick. Maybe the same birthday as you. Who knows?
Yeah,
that'd
who
be
knows?
pretty crazy.
Yeah, it would be pretty dang awesome. So right now, I think she's due like a week before, technically, but that sort of stuff changes, I guess. So I don't know, but it's been a journey so far. Going to be a lot of learning, and there may be some. So I imagine we'll have to pre-record some of these eps in the future. But we'll still try to obviously get it done weekly. So maybe even I'll have the baby on. They'll do an ep. Just in case I can't make it, I'll just put the baby there, and Tom can talk to the baby for an hour.
Listen, it's about time we get some intelligence on this podcast.
Yeah, not the baby.
The baby. No, it's going to be exciting. It's awesome. Super happy. Honored to be the Godfather. That's going to be, I'll learn what my duties are, I guess, as I go. It's my first time. But babies are cool, man. I mean, I've had a couple friends, and you've had a couple of friends who've had babies so far. We're kind of getting to that point, and I would say enjoy this, right? Like the moment before the baby, because once you get into it, it seems like it's just a whirlwind, right? Like you're just like, oh my God, I gotta take care of this thing. You basically like, I can't let this thing die, even though you're just like, I need to remove mucus from their like mouth or whatever. That's like the number one thing I hear. They're like, there's mucus, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I have mucus.
It's actually, I mean, like, not that it's anything comparable at all, but, like, ever since we've gotten the dog, Pluto, I've, like, I've woken up in the middle of the night just to make sure he's alive because 'cause I'm just like, I'll have, like, a flash in a dream, just be like, "Oh my god," and then he'll just be sleeping right there. So I imagine it's just gonna be, like, turned up to 10 with that, you know? So at least I'm getting some sorta weird practice in. But yeah, it should be interesting. It's gonna be a learning curve, it's gonna be a journey. It's gonna be fun.
Peace be the journey. Cool runnings. I love it.
How are
I
you
told
doing? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm good. I did tell my mom that it was happening, and she was very excited, but it was also a little bit of a mistake because then I was like, "Well, when are you gonna do that too?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Never, ever." I'm too much of a child, but maybe one day. But no, nothing much with me. It was kind of a weird weekend because no, it was actually nice. We stayed in on Friday. I made some homemade ramen. It was banging. It was just like because normally we go out on like Fridays, but we're like, let's stay in because we're gonna go out to dinner on Saturday, and also the Super Bowl is on Sunday. So make some good ramen. It was tasty. Then we went out Saturday all the way down the shore, Red Bank area, for
Nice.
my mother-in-law's 60th. That was fun, but then it started to like ice storm, like during dinner. And we were going to go home that night, and then we ended up having to stay at my in-laws,
Oh,
which,
wow.
yeah, because like we started driving, immediately started slipping and sliding. And you're like, all right, well, we're here tonight, which, I prefer sleeping in my own bed, but I will say my wife's old bed is pretty comfy too. So it all worked out. And then the Super Bowl happened. I was in a house full of Eagles fans. It was loud. They were
Yeah, yeah,
rambunctious.
yeah.
And I mean, I tied one on too. But I was trying to be a little bit devil's advocate or the heel a little bit. Anytime the Chiefs did something, I'd go,
Fucking
like,
Tom.
what are you doing? And then, like, I mean, my buddy Eric would get into it too because he's just like, yeah, what the hell? The refs, they need to help us more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a good time. Broke my phone and got a new one today. That was cool, but whatever. I'm tired, but I'm ready to talk video games. Let's get to some news. First, Fresh Juice has a Discord, folks. It's in the show notes. Great place to hang out, great place to chill, great place to type messages, and perhaps even have
Yeah.
voice chats if you want. Post memes, post games that you like, post food pictures, all that and more. It's great there. Now, the big news here was the baby news. We got that out of the way. But my Steam wish list is bigger than ever thanks to the indie devs flooding social media with 15-second clips explaining their games. What is going on here?
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to mention this because I noticed this trend specifically on Twitter, but I guess it might be happening on other social networks as well. It was just a cool way to kind of discover some new indie games. I wish listed a few of them that I saw. I think I shared some with you, kind of in our DMs as well. But yeah, it's kind of this trend that's happening on Twitter where if you actually just search for these words here, my indie game for 15 seconds. And you will see that there are just a bunch of people posting 15-second clips of their indie games. Some of them aren't out yet. Some of them have been out for a bit. But it's been a really great way for just discovering new indie games and obviously giving some spotlight to some great indie devs. So very easy. I just basically scrolled down my Twitter feed after searching that and just watched 15-second clips of videos. And I was like, oh, that looks cool. Let me check out their page, add it to the wish list. And yeah, found some neat looking games that way. So recommend you checking it out. Just kind of not really like news, but like for anyone out there that obviously we have the game recommendations channel on the Discord. So if you see anything cool from this trend, I don't think I've looked through everything. There seems to be a lot of these tweets going out. Definitely drop it in the Discord and let us know. But yeah, just a cool little trend there. So I don't know. I know you're primarily on the Blue Sky. I don't know if this is happening over there. Have you seen any of this over there?
Well, my algorithm over there is primarily Flesh and Blood and trading card
Okay.
games, so I haven't really seen it, but I'll be opening up my horizons there. uh, to see more of the blue sky, as it were. Um,
Yes.
but no, this is sick. It basically sounds like Vine for indie games.
Yeah, yeah,
Shout out Vine, rest in peace. But no, that's sick. Sometimes all you need is that little bit of a little morsel of whatever it looks like and seems to feel like for you to kind of get interested. It's a great way to kind of get your stuff out there, as well as demos, I would say, which there was a demo I talked about like golly a while back now, about a game called He Is Coming, and it was like a nice little RPG auto battler that was like so much fun. The demo was awesome, and they just put out their announcement trailer. I'm guessing it's coming out in early access soon. They didn't put a date, but that was pretty exciting. And in terms of any other real indie news, this is something that happened a couple weeks ago, but we missed it, I guess. Is Dwarf Fortress, which is kind of a legendary indie game here that you know overwhelmingly positive, thousands and thousands of reviews,
yep,
launched their adventure mode. So if you're less interested in the sim kind of colony builder aspect of Dwarf Fortress, but like more of adventure stuff, it might be worth checking it out, because then you can kind of get experience with all aspects of that game and maybe kind of fall in love with it like a lot of people have.
yeah. That sounds honestly like right up my alley because I like kind of the sim management to a point, but like some of these games obviously get pretty in depth with it, and people really like that. But I think I might take a look at Dwarf Fortress Adventure Mode and see. I mean, that just sounds awesome as well, just saying that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely look into that. It's pretty cool. I wonder if any other because you were mentioning we talked a bit before the show that you were playing Caves of Cud,
hmm
which is I guess similar to Dwarf Fortress. Do they have some sort of adventure mode, or is it kind of built differently where that would
Caves of
work?
Cud is primarily kind of an adventure open
Okay,
world like
okay,
RPG, built similarly to Dwarf Fortress. So I would imagine this adventure mode is probably closer to Caves of Cud if anybody played that yet. And yeah, no, pretty sick. I do recommend Caves of Cud. I think that was on the rec room a
yes, yep,
couple of weeks
definitely.
back. But we do have to talk about Sworn.
Let's do it.
I swear we got to talk about Sworn. Sworn, if you don't know, is from developer Windwalk Games, published by Team 17. It's on Steam in early access now, and then later in 2025, Xbox, PS5, and Switch. Maybe Switch too. I mean, at that point.
Yeah.
But it's $24.99. We got it for 20% off, but the sale will be over by the time this episode's out. I'm sure there'll be more sales, but maybe it's worth the full price. We'll see. It's a 1 to 4 player co-op action roguelike. Explore and reclaim a fall metric. Is that what it is?
Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, isometric. That's it. That's the one.
Top down kind of, isometric view, action roguelike RPG elements, very medieval in flavor and look. And you're running around, you are one of 4 characters. You start off only unlocking one, but it's kind of interesting. You hear about a game that is about the Knights of the Round Table and Arthur. You would think that you're going to play as them, but they're the bad guys. So this is your classic Hades like, where you're going from room to room, battling enemies till you destroy all of them, and then kind of get your reward that you get to maybe choose a couple different things, or it could be like loot to use in the main area for like the meta progression as well. And then oftentimes you'll have 2 doors to pick after, and they'll show you what the kind of rewards are that you can get if you go through one of those doors. So you look at it, you're like, oh, I could use more gold, or the other door has the other currency that you would use in the main area when you die, and you're like, okay, maybe that's what I need. So you run around. It's a good time. I mean, I really liked it. It feels really good. The co-op's incredible. We played together with our buddy Bags as well. It was a lot of fun. If any juice heads want to hop on with us, I think we'd all be down for it. It's very, very satisfying. And the thing I like about this, you know, as opposed to something like Hades, which I do also like, right? I think Hades is a classic for a reason. This is this nails the arcadey feel of a
Hmm.
video game, right? This doesn't feel like you're going to get bogged down with a lot of extra stuff, right? You just hop in and you kill monsters, right? So if you're looking for, we'll talk about like a story, it's kind of there, but it's not like something that you are playing this game for. You're playing it for fun, arcadey action with buddies or even solo, and all the while kind of upgrading your characters and weapons and spells and all these other things while you continue to get loot from your runs. I really like this gameplay. I mean, the no two runs felt the same, I would say, and that's like the kind of hallmark sign of a good roguelike, where when you find, the main way you kind of upgrade stuff is through your runs, is these blessings from these, I guess, pagan gods. Are they pagan gods? I'm not sure. um
Something.
yeah, something like that, whatever. Arthurian pagan gods,
Hmm.
each kind of has their own archetype, right? You have the frost one, you have the poison one, you have the one that is luck, just all luck based, which is pretty cool. And you kind of discover these different gods, and you start to upgrade your stuff, whether it's giving a buff to your quick attack or giving a buff to your heavy attack or making your spell stronger or just giving you a general buff to kind of go through the run with. It makes it feel very, very different every single time, and I felt like it was cool, and I thought that it was pretty unique, the different kind of things you could do and combine as well. And it makes you think about what you pick, right? I think that's kind of the cool thing, because you're like, well, I have something that makes my light attacks faster, and now I'm presented with something that gives my light attacks a buff, right? Like that's a very
Hmm.
simple example, but you're like, that works together. Let's run with that, and let's see if I can continue to like do something like that, which is pretty neat. But what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the gameplay for this one. Just, I mean, obviously we like the demo, but I really do think like this early access launch, they like really fine tune a lot of the things, and we'll talk about a few of the other ones later. But um, what I really like what they did with the gameplay is, I guess in that play test or that demo, everything was kind of already unlocked for us in this kind of lobby area that you're seeing on video here if you're watching. Um, and in the actual game here in early access, you're actually unlocking these new vendors. I don't know if there's really like a pattern of when you unlock them. I think you definitely unlock one of them after beating the first boss. But I honestly don't remember how I unlocked the other ones. I think you just kind of find them as you're playing. But I think that you know really helps with kind of the I don't know, satisfaction of like these runs, as well as that you potentially could unlock something new that would help you in future runs of like, oh, here's a vendor where now I can upgrade my weapons, so I can get stronger with each run, and I can get to the first boss and beat the first boss easier with each attempt, ideally. So I really like what they did with that. There's different currencies you get in the game, obviously that's like based on what room you choose as well, and you get those certain rewards if you beat that room. But I think they did a good job in terms of like balancing everything. So there's like a currency where like it unlocks weapons and spells. There's another currency that's for like your skill tree. There's another one for cosmetics. So like for me right now, I'm never choosing silk, which is the one for cosmetics, because I don't really care. Right? I'll get cosmetics at the end. I want to unlock the characters and buff, make my character strong, and then I'll worry about what my character looks like. But if you're someone that wants to focus more on the look of your character, you can choose those silk, reward rooms and just kind of go forward with that. And then, you can also unlock like a bounty board, right? So, there's different kind of challenges for you to do. And these are like overall challenges, not like per run. So like, use, I don't get deal a certain amount of damage maybe, or something like that, like 20,000 damage, and you unlock some more of a certain currency. So, that's great. You can also kind of upgrade your runs through some of the, I actually think the person that they're talking to on the screen right now, you can use moonstones, and then it'll, your runs could have shops in them from now on, or other kind of things like that that really just upgrade and improve your runs overall. So it's cool stuff like that. So there's a good amount of depth because of all these currencies. But what I really like about the game, and obviously specifically the gameplay, is that it's not a very complicated game. Like in terms of like the controls, right? You got a spell, you got a heavy attack, a light attack, a dash. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can get an ultimate attack as well, but you don't, kind of start with an ultimate attack. So I think that like the simplicity is there, and like you said, it kind of feeds into like how arcadey this game can feel. I feel like sometimes with like Hades, it can. I feel like I might have hit the wrong button, right? Or I'm like trying to combo certain things, or even I was even thinking about like a game like Windblown, which is a great early access roguelite that we've played before, but there's like more mechanics in that game of like, oh, deflecting attacks and then switching between weapons, and then I get a buff on the second weapon that I switch to. There's all these things you kind of have to think about. I feel like in this game, I don't really need to think too much other than I need to get out of the way of damage, and then now I have an opportunity to attack. So I really enjoyed that. And obviously, as you kind of go through all the rooms and you get your upgrades, you'll start focusing on specific things, and maybe you're really buffing up your heavy attack or your spell, and you'll start to focus mostly on kind of using that, since that's kind of the bigger hit for you. But I just really enjoyed that balance of like, kind of simplistic gameplay, arcadey gameplay, but also like a decent amount of depth and unlocks on the back end, where it's like, I want to keep doing these runs because I want to unlock everything for this character, and everything for all the characters, including like the cosmetics. So, it makes me want to just keep going back and playing. And I don't right now, like I'm not really caring how far I get in the runs. I'm just like, okay, I just cleared 20 rooms. Like that is a great run right there, because now I have extra currency and I can go ahead and upgrade some things, and then I'm going to just start another run. If I just need a few more rooms, maybe to unlock something, maybe I just do a really short run and I just hop in and try to unlock those things. So yeah, I just like that balance that they have with this game. And obviously, it's fun to play solo, but I had a great time playing co-op. I think it's the first time we played with three people, which you can play with up to four. Um, and that was good too. I felt like you know, everything kind of scaled in the right way to the amount of players that we, were playing with, especially like that boss health, because obviously, when you play solo, the bosses kind of feel a little bit easier, but I enjoy that they're even more challenging when you're playing with three people. So they did a good job with scaling as well. So yeah, I also just really enjoyed the gameplay for this game. I think, they've done a great job with early access, and I'm excited to see kind of how they fine tune it and add to it, throughout their roadmap.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and one of the cool things about it tends to be the world that they built for it, right? A lot of us are familiar with the Arthurian kind of legends, you know, Sir Arthur, Knights of the Round Table, Sword in the Stone. All of this stuff is present in this, as well as some auxiliary kind of characters. Guinevere. You have the Lady in the Water is a character that you can get in the the main area for
Yeah.
yourself, and
Merlin.
Merlin's the guy. I mean,
Yeah, he's the dude.
we haven't mentioned it yet, but this I would be so shocked if what was this Windwalk Games? Windwalk Games, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Windwalk Games that they were not big um Gauntlet Dark Legacy players, because the
Mhm.
whole main area feels like Gauntlet Dark Legacy first and foremost. It even has similar bongos playing, like, which we'll talk about in the music and the sound. But they also have the old wise wizard in the middle that's kind of like, hey, come and upgrade some stuff. Which also the upgrade trees are pretty intense as well, which
Yeah.
we didn't even touch in the gameplay. But they built such a cool world with really cool character designs. Each level feels, or each, like, set of levels, because I forget how many knights there are in the round table, but you have to fight all of them, right? So
5.
there's five, and
5.
then there's King Arthur, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to fight Gawain, Galahad, Lancelot. I'm gonna forget the other two.
Percival,
Percival.
Mordred. I just have a list up before the show
Uh,
because I was like, I know we're gonna cover this, and I don't remember their names either. Yeah,
but
that's them.
the cool thing is they are like this really like grotesque, monstrous versions of what you think it is, right? And they all kind of are playing into the biome that they're protecting or whatever. Gawain's the first one, this very overgrown castle like world, and he's kind of this skeletal wood like scary guy, and he summons more like evil trees to attack you. Very, very cool. I'm a big fan of the way they kind of build it, right? Like, this is also very arcadey, right? Classic biome, boss matches the biome, boss matches the biome, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just like the world they built here. You know, as a kid, I liked the Arthurian stuff, but it's kind of nice to revisit it now in this kind of context.
Yeah, agreed. Especially since kind of like flipping the script a bit, right? So, you're beating these infamous knights, which is really cool. And obviously, I mean, we assume like Lancelot, or I guess King Arthur would be at the end, but I guess Lancelot would be the last knight, I would imagine. Um, but yeah, obviously there's like an inherited story here. They don't really, they kind of like set it up a little bit in the beginning, but I don't imagine that we're going to be getting, a lot of like cutscenes, or any more like story explanation as we move on, maybe until the end. It is still early access, so maybe that stuff's just not added in there yet. But after like defeating Gawain, who is the only boss I've defeated so far, um, there was no like extra cutscene or anything that was kind of mentioned. You just kind of moved on to like the fountain room, and then that's where you found like the lady in the water, who goes back to become a vendor. A little spoiler there, I guess, but not really. But yeah, so there's that inherited story for the game, and it's cool. Yeah, like Tommy said, it's just cool kind of playing through this. And I don't really, yeah, these gods as well, I don't really know what they are. I've never heard of them or anything like that, so I don't know if that's something I just kind of missed, or just something they obviously needed to add it into the game. But I don't know how they really affect the story at the end of the day, um, with everything. But yeah, it's got that inherited story, but I wouldn't be looking at this as like some story based like roguelike or anything like that, which they rarely ever are.
Yeah, yeah, but it's cool, and a lot of that is the way they kind of illustrate these characters and the art style here.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like this like dark kind of like, not monochromatic. That's not what I'm looking for, but like the heavy shadow, heavy brushstroke on the
Yeah.
shadows, and like the
So,
characters stick out, especially
yeah.
your character, and the way they kind of illustrate the different kinds of abilities that you get as well. You know, every single god has like a color associated with them, which is pretty neat. Even if it's a small thing, this is actually something that I really appreciated. Even if it was just like your heavy attacks deal 20% more damage, all of a sudden the hitbox or the hit wherever it lands on your heavy attack is the color that you picked,
Mhm.
right? It's not really like it, it doesn't have to be a super thematic like actual like spell or whatever to kind of get the kind of thematics of whatever the god was onto your stuff. I thought that was really, really brilliant. It looked really cool. Love the art style. As I said, it just is nice. There's dynamic backgrounds, which is so cool too. And the biomes feel so different. And I mean, if you're watching the YouTube right now, like Gawain looks so sick. I remember the first time we played against Gawain during the demo, we're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It was so cool. So, just cool video game stuff, honestly. And just like something that we would have jammed like for hours on end, like couch co-op, you know, years ago, which is
Yeah.
so cool.
And that, this is not related to the art, but that is one gripe I have with the game, that there isn't couch co-op, because I
Hmm.
just think that would be awesome. Obviously, there's online co-op, so maybe that's something they'll add at some point. But yeah, art wise, reminds me of like a comic book, just like the way. Oh my god, what is this? It's an Adobe Photoshop ad. Speaking of art, have you heard of Adobe Photoshop? Um, it should be over shortly, I hope. Um, but yeah, it just kind of reminds me of like how a comic book would be illustrated. Um, and hopefully this will play. There it is, we're back. Um, but yeah, I agree also about the colors. That's something I noted down as well. Is that even when you're like upgrading your like luck or something, like for critical hit chance or something like that, you're getting a color change, right? To signify that, or like, if certain enemies get marked because you upgraded a luck chance, they will actually have like a little yellow clover above their head once they're marked. So you're like, oh my, this is from that upgrade I got. So yeah, I think they do a great job with kind of identifying what effects or like elements that you have applied to your character, to your weapons, or your spell. So yeah, I agree. I think they did a good job with that, which sometimes that can kind of get like lost, right? If it's like too muted, or you're not really sure if certain things are triggering. I think this game does a pretty good job with identifying what's happening and why it's happening. And then they also, have like an inventory system, which I'll mention. Well, I guess I'll just mention it now. But there were bugs with that inventory system where it wasn't showing up if you were playing co-op and using a controller. But that inventory system also goes into like some more detail as well, with each of the different upgrades or blessings, I think they call it in the game, which is great as well. And then they're all kind of color coded, so okay. If you forget which god maybe you picked, you can easily just be like, "Oh, I picked the blue one, so I'm just gonna keep upgrading the blue one." So it's easy to kind of make that association just from the colors. I also think they did a great job with knowing like when you're getting attacked and where it's coming from. I feel like sometimes in these games, I'll be like, "What is hitting me? Where is this coming from?" Well, in this game, they are putting giant bright red circles when there's like a kind of a aerial attack that's coming your way, or something about the jump there. Even in the boss battles, there are traps on the ground that are really like easy to see. Once you kind of understand all the different types of traps that are in the game, and then even when you get to like the next biome, which I haven't gotten to all the biomes, but the next one, everything is kind of working different. There's different mechanics there. Like that one has a lot of areas where it slows your character down. So it's kind of these like big, like kind of mud piles or oil piles, whatever. Or I guess it wouldn't be oil, but probably mud or something like that, or deep water, whatever you want to kind of call it. So they do a good job kind of contrasting the biomes too from the art side. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think like at the end of the day, this game just does a great job with like um, that arcadey feel where like you just need to understand something like really quickly, whether it's a trap, whether it's like a certain effect you're putting on your weapon, whether there's like a bonus kind of in the room, whether it's a shop or maybe like a trial, a combat trial that you can activate. Like it does a great job with like making sure that you're noticing these things and you're not moving on too quickly. So yeah, I think the art is just, I have like no notes in terms of like how I would improve the art. Just keep it coming. I'm very excited to see the next few bosses as well. Some of the mini bosses have been a lot of great designs too. So yeah, just kind of excited to see what's in store if I can make it that far,
Yeah.
to see those things, because health is that's something I forgot to mention in the gameplay. Like health is such a big thing in this game, and obviously the more runs you do, the more you can upgrade in the skill tree. But like it's really tough. Like I feel like after getting past the first boss, like I'm always kind of hanging on by a thread at that point. So I'm hoping that can improve. Just so I can see, what is in store in the art department for the other biomes. But they did a fantastic job with the art in this game.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the sound's no slouch either, to be honest. And it's very vibey medieval stuff, but like it's cool, especially the music. I really like. I already mentioned the bongos, or whatever it is in the main region that you are your like hub, and it immediately brought me back. To be honest, like it was very nostalgic, but the actual music in game too is like perfect. It's just perfect for what you're playing. It's like kind of gets you amped a little bit, and it really matches whatever biome you're in at the time too, which is so cool. And then another thing, the sound effects with these creatures, it's so cool, especially when you get to the second biome where there's like a
Hmm.
bunch of rats, and like it's like you're like, oh my god, you start to feel like you're getting overwhelmed by the rats, and you actually are, but also
Yeah.
it sounds like it, which is pretty impressive. So I really liked it. The sound is good. It's just a good sound design, I feel like, and it feels so nostalgic to me for a couple of reasons there.
Yeah, same here. I think the soundtrack just like fits so well with the gameplay. It's nothing. I'm not like when I'm playing this. I don't really find myself, like vibing to the music just because I'm like so focused. But like the music just fits everything I'm doing, in a great way, and it almost makes me feel like unstoppable, right? Like when you're playing, which is kind of cool for like a game like this. So I kind of appreciate that. But yeah, as far as like the gameplay sounds and sound effects, great attack sounds, the different types of enemies. I love that second biome as well. And yeah, I think I don't have a lot of notes on the sound. I think they did a great job. It would maybe be hard for me to tell if this was a sworn soundtrack, and the more I play it, maybe I'll have a different opinion on that. But like right out of the gate, if I just heard this without knowing it was sworn, I might not be immediately like, "Oh, this is from Sworn." But I don't think that takes away anything from the game. I think, like I said, they did a great job with the sound, kind of tying into the gameplay. So definitely, still kudos to them for doing that. But um, on the performance side, though, how was everything for you? You played on Steam, right?
Yeah, played on
Oh,
Steam.
duh,
Yeah,
because it's only out for Steam. Yes.
and we played together.
Yeah, and we played together. That's
Yeah.
true.
I played on Steam. It was you know, we played the day that it was released initially, and there were definitely some bugs, and I think they pushed out a hot fix that fixed it by the time that I played again.
Yep.
So it was nothing game breaking. There was like the menu wasn't really popping up initially for us, but they fixed that pretty quickly. But that's why it's early access, right? It's just not super polished, but it is pretty polished. But there's just going to be some kinks along the way. What about you?
Yeah, it was really only that bug with like the inventory where only when I was playing co-op, like, and just for those who don't know, like the inventory basically just lets you see like what blessings and upgrades you've chosen. And in case you like just see the icon and you're like, I forget what this does, you can open your inventory, hover over it, and it'll give you a little tooltip telling you what it does. So, it's important, the further you kind of go into your run, you might want to look at your inventory. So there was just a bug with that, but yes, it has been fixed because I was playing with bags earlier, so we're doing the co-op, and the inventory is working for us. So I think they released a hot fix today, but it seemed like they fixed it. I guess maybe they didn't need a hot fix to fix that. I'm not too sure, but it does seem like it's fixed, which is great. But yeah, that was the only issue I had. I do appreciate they released this game in early access, though. I know that since they're planning to launch this on the other consoles later in the year, I am imagining it's not going to be a very long early access. just because I think they'll probably try to get to 1.0 for those console releases. And the game does feel close to 1.0, I would say, even in just terms of content. So yeah, I had no performance issues other than that bug that was fixed really quickly. So really, really happy overall with the performance for the game, and curious to see. You mentioned the Switch 2. How would this run on the OG Switch? Probably fine, I would
Yeah.
imagine. But I would also like to, yeah, I'd like to see it on the Switch too as well.
Yeah, get some couch co-op going. That would be cool to be able to like have your character say your progress saved like from like Steam and bring it over.
Yeah,
But like it would be like a sick like, oh, we're hanging out for the day. Let's jam some Sworn and see how far we can get our characters and stuff like that. That'd be fun.
yeah.
But that is going to bring us to our ratings. Our ratings are as follows: certified fresh juice. These are your Balatros of the world, your Norp Apologues, a steel. These are things that we think are quite good, just not like the greatest thing ever. This is things like the Cub, Ballionaire. I think Pepper Grinder was in there as well. A lot of games fall into the on sale category where it's not quite perfect, but if you see it on sale or if you're really into the genre, we definitely say go for it. These are things like Wizard with a Gun, Hellskate. And then after that, we have Manager Special. Very, very hard to recommend unless you really like the genre. Um, or if it's on a really deep discount, even free to play, it's like, try it out. You might like it. And then finally, after that, it's Spoiled Milk, which is a game that we wouldn't recommend to anybody. Matty, soon to be Daddy Juice. What's your rating here?
So I am giving Sworn a certified fresh juice. I think that this game does so many things well. I think you nailed it on the head just calling it arcadey. It just like nails that vibe and that feel. The only thing I want from the game is couch co-op, but I'm not going to take away points because of that. Because I feel pretty confident that they're probably like looking into it for the console release. It makes me excited that this is just on Steam right now, and that goes the same for cross progression as well. The fact it's only on Steam right now, probably buys them some time to figure out cross progression and figure out couch co-op. So when it releases on the consoles, maybe it'll be included there. So hopefully that's part of the roadmap. But yeah, I'm giving this a certified fresh juice. Loved it in the playtest. Loved it even more playing it. Now that it's fully out. I think it's totally worth the cost as well. We paid $20 for it, but it retails for 25. Higher end, I'd say, for indie games, but I think there's plenty of content there, and it's just fun. If you have some buddies to play it with, I think it's totally worth picking up. So that's what I'm thinking, Tommy.
And I'm right there with you. This is a certified fresh juice if I've ever played one. This is a lot of fun. I'm itching to play more. There's not a lot that I could even find to complain about, outside of some, typical early access stuff. So you can't really hold it against it. And even that wasn't too bad. I just love hopping in and just like grinding out. Like it doesn't feel like a grind to like actually upgrade your characters and upgrade your weapons. You want to do it. You're like,
Yeah,
I want to see what I can do with this weapon, with this character. I want to see what goes on here. I want to upgrade that weapon. I want to see, oh, maybe I can max out this bow staff. And when I play with my buddies, I'm the bow staff vigilante guy. That's what I
yeah,
mean. I'm like, I know what I like and stuff like that. And you have the ability to kind of like try everything too, which is nice. So
yeah,
it's very sweet. They kept it simple, which I think is great. Like it's deep but simple, right? They could have easily been like, yeah, you can play like 10 different characters, 4 characters, and then you can make them all feel different with their weapons, which is so cool. So
yeah.
certified fresh juice for Swarm.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about that? I think this is the longest drought we've had from a certified fresh juice. Do you
Ooh,
know the last certified fresh juice that we both gave, even individually? Can you guess what game it was?
was it Preserve? That can't
No,
be it.
it was October 2nd, 2024. We gave Halls of Torment certified
Oh,
fresh juice.
yep.
So this is our first one of 2025. And yeah, we haven't had it in what is that, like 5 months? basically 4 or 5 months. So pretty wild. But hey, that's what being honest does, right, folks? We're
Yeah.
just brutally honest on every game. Um,
If the juice ain't worth the squeeze, I will
yeah,
tell you. But yeah, I mean, a good start to February though.
yeah.
Next week we have a game called Dawn Folk, which is a roguelike city sim builder. So that should be pretty interesting in like a medieval setting, which is cool. Pixel art, obviously, always a big fan of that. So it looks cool. So I'm excited to try that out next week. And we do have listener questions though. These come from the Fresh Juice Discord, which we did mention at the top of the show. And the first one comes from Eugen, who asks, "What is a game you wish you were good at?"
So for me, the first thing that popped in my head for this one is Super Smash Brothers. It's a game I like playing, but I've always been like, oh, I'm better at Mario Kart than I am at Super Smash because those are kind of the two party games like growing up. I feel like that people played. So yeah, but it's really like fighting games in general. Like I'm just so bad at fighting games, and I don't know. There's like always a part of me that like they're so cool. Like Mortal Kombat is so cool. I'm just so bad at it that I'm like, I don't even want to buy it. I don't even want to try it. But Smash is the one that I'll play just because it's Super Smash Brothers. So it would be cool to be good at that, and maybe even win a little money if I was really good at it. But just to be better at Smash would be cool. But I'm not going to put in the time to do that, Tom. I mean, why would I do that? I just want to be good one day. Is that too hard to ask?
I would say it's not. Now, here's a follow up question to that. Which Smash Brothers would you want to be the best at? Because
Yeah,
Melee obviously is kind of I guess the gold standard, right? But also Super Smash Ultimate has become another like gold standard as well, and more prevalent in the
yeah,
circuit of people playing competitively. But if you were the best original Super Smash Bros. Player in the world,
yeah.
that would be kind of sick.
That would be.
That'd be swag.
Yeah. If I had to choose like, a character that's been in all of them and I was just like the best at,
Oh yeah.
I'd probably pick Kirby. I've always liked playing Kirby. And also just because I just love the mechanic of like taking, like sucking up someone and then you kind of have like a little bit of their powers or whatever. And also like the down B or whatever,
hmm
is always a fun one. But if I had to choose someone from Ultimate, I play Isabel. I really like playing Isabel because she's got that fishing rod that like just pisses people off. But I probably like playing her because I'm not good and I can just spam her. So if I was good with her, like actually a good player, I feel like I'd just be unstoppable. So I guess I'd choose her in Ultimate. But
Listen,
what about you?
I've always tried to like find a character that I can like get my competitive edge because I've always played with really good Smash players. Like I would play with our buddies, Will and Pat and Dan playing Melee, and they
Yeah,
were all so good. And I would be like, well, I'm just gonna be Jigglypuff and I'm gonna float off to the side of the stage and do the side B and then try to kill them and then also try to sleep on them.
yeah,
So I did that, and then in the later games when Villager came out, I mean, my strat with Villager: plant a tree, jump,
yeah,
throw a gyroid, float up with my balloons, jump, throw a gyroid, just like the most annoying thing ever. And I'm
yeah,
sure people hated playing against it, but it was a lot of fun. Now, to
yeah,
answer Eugen's question, a game that I wish I was good at is definitely League of Legends, just because like I feel like that's maybe has the most money in it. I'm not sure
yeah.
at this point, but
Yeah,
at one point,
I think it has the biggest prize pool for like their worlds tournament. I think it's like the biggest for that tournament. I don't know about overall, but yeah,
yeah,
I think it's still up there.
yeah. I'd like
Yeah.
to be king of the toxicity. That'd be pretty sick. Now,
Yeah.
next question comes from Capolo, who asked, in honor of Valentine's Day week, what's the game that really made you fall in love with video games? What was the game that made you fall in love with indie games?
Um yes, happy Valentine's Day to those out there. We'll be your Valentine if you don't have one, so don't
Sure.
worry. But what's a game that made me fall in love with video games? So it might be. I mean, like Pokemon Yellow was great, or just like Pokemon, on Game Boy Color. But probably the one I really got into was Ocarina of Time because I just, I've mentioned before. I remember my dad bringing home a Nintendo 64, and I had no idea what that even was. And he had Ocarina of Time in those big, bulky, like game cases that used to exist. And then just playing through that game, I was just like, I didn't know a game could be like that because I think up until that point, I had just played Pokemon. Um, if I'm timing things out correctly there, but yeah, so probably Ocarina of Time. And then as far as what's a game that made me fall in love with indie games, um, this is a tough one because like I had played indie games without realizing they were indie games. Like even when I played Super Meat Boy, I wasn't like thinking, okay, this is an indie game, right? So really, when I got into like understanding like the significance of indie games, I actually think Valheim was probably one that really made me fall in love with indie games because I was playing it and I just couldn't believe how much was in the game from like a 5-person dev team. I was just like, wow, this is like incredible. Um, there might have been one before that, but just one that like really pops in my head where I was just like, I want to look at more indie games now. So that's probably one that just pops in my head for the indie game side of things. But great question, Capola. What are you thinking for this, Tom?
It's probably Pokemon Blue for me because I think I was Game Boy gaming a little bit longer before I got the N64. Ocarina of Time was definitely up there, but so was Tony Hawk Pro Skater, right? Those
Oh,
are like the two
yeah.
biggies, right? In terms of indie games, though, it's kind of tough. I actually kind of looked back at my Steam library to see what were the first indie games I downloaded. Axiom Verge was a huge one. That's just a huge indie game in general. Slain Back from Hell. I love the hell out of that game. But honestly, I think I really hit my stride with Enter the Gungeon. Really made me fall in love with indie games. Or a game that I it probably not the answer because I forgot about it, but it's a game called Odalis, the Dark Call, which is it's such a sick game. And I watched like a let's play of it, and
Yeah.
it was such a funny let's play that I was like, I gotta play this game, and it was pretty sick. But it's probably not what made me fall in love. It's more likely Enter the Gungeon that really solidified it for me.
Nice. Yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah, check out the Dark Call.
Oh, Dallas.
And then finally, Kmore, staying with the theme here, asked if your favorite game was turned into a dating sim, who would you romance and why?
Uh, well, I guess I've said before that I think Elden Ring is my favorite game. I don't know if I want to romance anyone in that game other than I'm trying to remember all the names because they're all so similar. It's the I don't know, the main girl, uh, Melina, I guess, because she's like one that seems the nicest out of everyone in that world. So yeah, I'll go with that. But um, I don't
The
know. I don't.
the quest to not be maidenless.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's what it could be called. There you
Yeah.
go.
Hey,
Yeah.
how about that? This is a tough one because it's hard for me to pick my favorite game. I mean, it's at different points in my life, right? If you ask me right now, it's Balatro. I'm not really romancing anything in Balatro, but uh, transport me back. What, like 10 years? Maybe a little bit longer. Arkham City was was like
Mm.
one of my favorite games, and yeah, I mean, I'll romance Alfred or the Riddler.
Yeah.
I think maybe. I mean, I'm assuming I'm still playing as Batman, so I can't romance Batman. But Man Bat is in the game, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Oh no, that was in Arkham Asylum. I
Spoiler.
think. Sorry,
Damn.
sorry. Spoiler alert. Scrub ahead. But yeah, thanks for the question, Game More. It's a good one. That's going to bring us to the rec room, where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game. What do you have to recommend this week?
Yeah, so I am actually recommending an indie game, and it's just because I booted it up recently. It's No Man's Sky. So I know last week we covered a new update for No Man's Sky. So one of my buddies, Astro, who I think listens to the show, so shout out to Astro. He picked up No Man's Sky because it was on sale. Whenever they do an update, it was like 60% off. So he picked it up. Never had played it before, and we scheduled some time. I was like, "You want to play like Saturday night?" And I'll be on for 4 or 5 hours, and we can just kind of start a new save together. So we did that, and like I just kind of started remembering how much I love this game. Just like obviously the scale of it is crazy, but even just like all the love that they put into it, like there's just so much depth in the game. And then it was just cool to kind of walk through it with someone who's never played it, knows nothing about the game. And one of my favorite moments was Astro had, we were walking on a planet together, and he was like, "How big is this planet?" I'm like, "Oh, it's planet sized." He's like, he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, it's like Earth." I was like, "They're all like that." I mean, there's like moons you can find that are technically smaller, but yeah, like I could live on the other side of the planet, and you could live on one side, and we could never cross paths really if like we're just staying on the ground. So yeah, it was just kind of cool for him to like kind of learn about the game in that way. And like, he just kept going, "Oh, that's so cool. This is really cool." I'm like, yeah, they've brought it a long way. So I'm just recommending No Man's Sky. I think it's a great time to jump back in with all these like great updates they've done. Obviously, there's more that they're planning, and it's felt really good. So if you haven't played it in a while, I do recommend like reinstalling it, just starting a new save and hopping right in. Excuse me, because it's just a fun time. And obviously, I mentioned before, if anyone does want to play, Astro and I, we got room on our planet. So if you want to, if you want to play and build with us and hang out, you're more than welcome to do so. But yeah, so just recommending it. I probably have recommended it before, but it's a good time to get back into it. And I can't. That's another game. It's Sworn and No Man's Sky right now, where I'm just like, I just want to go back in and play more. So that's my rec room. There it
Yeah,
is.
it's a sick game. It would be fun to what the heck am I thinking of? Like to you each land on one side of the planet, and then you're just like you gotta hunt each other.
That would be
That
cool.
that would be a sick gameplay loop. My recommendation this week is some Doritos.
Nice.
The late night sizzling cheeseburger Doritos.
Ooh.
I swear, listen, I got them on a whim. They were like on sale. I was like, oh, let me check these out. Yeah, I'm always willing to see what Doritos are doing. They've been doing pretty well lately. I tried the golden sriracha ones recently, quite good.
Mm.
Not as good as the hot mustard ones, which I think those ones are one of the best. This one gives a run for hot mustards money here. This is basically you bite it, you're just like, all right, it's a Dorito, and then you got hit with like, I just ate a McDonald's cheeseburger or like a White Castle burger.
Oh shit.
A
Okay.
little bit of that pickle, a little bit of onion, a little bit of that ketchup.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so
Yeah.
good.
I'm
It's like
in.
because I haven't been eating beef, so I was like,
So you're just gonna have these
yeah.
ultra processed Doritos instead.
Listen,
Just get that
listen.
fix.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, it was like I felt like I was at Willy Wonka's factory.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
how it
like,
feels sometimes having these Doritos where I'm like, how did they get this exact flavor out of
I
a chip?
know. It's awesome. So if you see, I think so. Luckily, one of the members of the Buds Discord for my other podcast works for Frito Lay. So whenever I find something like this, tag them immediately. I'm like, hey, Sergeant Snipes, what's the deal? Is this a core item? Is this limited edition? Tell
Yeah.
me, like, what do you think? I think it might be limited. He wasn't exactly sure, but he just started selling them, or he delivers them. He started delivering them.
Yeah.
So sick.
Hell yeah. Now, how did that? Because obviously, eating White Castle burgers has an effect. Any effect on the back end from these sort of chips? Any like kind of gas issues or?
Brother, we cracked the code. No freebies. Like, all right, you want White Castle without the negative effects? Grab these.
Okay.
And like you get the onion flavor, right? Like which unfortunately with when you have like White Castle or even like McDonald's, that onion flavor like lingers. You definitely people are gonna smell it if you talk to them. Doesn't linger. This is
Mm.
like really some Willy Wonka stuff going on over Frito Lay. So good on Doritos. Check them out.
Hell yeah.
You know, what's your number one favorite Dorito of all time?
Um, I mean, I always like the spicy sweet chili. Um,
It's
I mean,
classic.
I love Cool Ranch. Like, I'm just like a sucker for the OG. But yeah, spicy sweet chili. Um, there was another cheeseburger one that was good, or like something like that. I don't think it was like a late night cheeseburger. It was something like that. That was good. And then I like spicy nacho as well. But I never had the hot mustard. I got to try those ones because I probably would like those quite a bit.
Dude,
Um, yeah.
the hot mustard.
Now,
One minute.
how would those be like? Imagine those with pretzels, and like you just have a little
Oh,
handful, you
so
know?
you know what is it's actually closer to like the Chinese hot
Okay.
mustard,
Okay.
which like
So
a little
have
bit
it with
more of that
rice. Yeah.
that like yeah. No, I mean like
Or
mix
egg
them in with like
rolls.
an egg roll. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love the hot mustard one because they had come out with the hot mustard and like a spicy ketchup one. Spicy ketchup was just all right.
Yeah.
Hot mustard, that was where it was at. So
Hell yeah.
hopefully it
Yeah.
comes back this summer.
Is that your number one, would you say, at the moment? Or
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. I think so because like I could definitely pound a whole bag of all of them to be honest, but like oh, maybe the law of diminishing returns affects I think the hot mustard a little bit more because
yeah.
eventually your tongue's just like stingy,
Yeah.
you know. Where this one is just like oh it just tastes like more burgers, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Cool. Hell yeah.
So
Well, I'm
nice
excited. I'll have to pick these ones up.
diet cheat code for anybody out there. I don't know.
Doritos. Who would have thought?
Doritos. Yeah. So, but that's going to do for the show, folks. You can continue to find me on all platforms at Fresh Buds Pod. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. Just hit 1,000 subarinos over there. It was very
Woo!
exciting. We got a bunch of cards to send out for a giveaway. That'll be cool. And you can find us at Fresh Juice Pod everywhere. Where can people find you?
Find me at Matty Gorm, not Daddy Gorm, at Matty Gorm on all the socials. I did a little No Man's Sky stream over the weekend. That was fun. But yeah, just been so busy with a bunch of stuff. Haven't really been super active other than on TikTok. All of my TikToks, literally like usually 20% would be an Eagles one. It's now 100%. Like I can't. I mean, this is fine, but some of them are like repeat stuff that I've already seen. So
Mm.
my algorithm is just screwed up at the moment. So not that that has to do anything with my socials, but yeah, follow me at Matty Gorm on anything with that username. So there you go.
And with that, we're juicing and caboosing. Ooh,
Cheers.